All right, Micah, you're up.
Okay. So I'm just going to go over really quick the PowerPoint I made, and then we can poke around on Canva. I do a lot better if you have any questions, just interrupt me. So no need to wait. Let's get started. Where share screen. All right. Can everyone see the PowerPoint? Cool. So talking about layout and design specifically for infographics, but of course you can do so many other things with layout for your students. And we are talking about Canva, but some other options can be Adobe Spark, or sometimes even PowerPoint, or maybe your students might have their own software if they're already into this. But one good thing about Canva is that it's super user friendly. You already have templates and designs to draw from, and it's free. So Julie hit on this a lot, picking a topic with your audience, what you want your message to be. So it's the same stuff that applies for infographics. Just the main thing is with infographics and designs, you have to be very concise. You can't fit all the information about mosquitoes on one sheet of paper, and no one's gonna take the time to read all of it. So like a few examples of what an infographic might be could be a comparison of two common types of mosquitoes in your area, how to choose the right repellent, comparing a few data points from your experiment, or a how to, like how to protect your yard from mosquitoes. For design, here's a few general rules of thumb. Remember the number 3, especially for infographics. It's good to have 3 main pieces of information or talking points, 3 or less types of font. So this will be your title text, your regular text, and sometimes you'll have a subheading text. And another thing to remember when picking out font, I mean, of course, like don't use wingdings. Like, most people know what a good font is. Cursive is kind of hard to read. It's hard on the eye, and generally for print things, serif, the font with the feet at the end, is better, and for web design, sans serif without the feet is better. 3 colors going to be your best bet. This includes text. When choosing color, it's a lot like, designing a room, picking out an outfit. You should know what colors go together, and your students should know. So, you know, very neutrals are always good, dark blues. One thing you just need to be aware of are colors that are hard to read. So bright yellows and reds generally don't look good on most things because they're very harsh on the eye. And then another thing, one really cool thing that happens is, okay, serif versus sans serif. But one kind of cool thing that happens that you don't want to happen is if you have 2 very contrasting colors and they're both very vibrant, they make this effect on your eye that makes it look like they vibrate. And so that's incredibly hard to read, and you don't want that on your infographic. And finally, 3 graphics or pictures. Usually you have a picture or graphic for every piece of information. I prefer illustrations over like photos, just because photos tend to look busy on an infographic, and there's a lot more room for error if you are printing it. So overall, remember the rule, just remember 3. But sometimes rules can be broken. So if you find yourself where you have a lot of good information, maybe another good color that it just has to be in there. Try not to go more than 5. Depending on where you post this, it might have different dimensions. So I looked up just now Instagram dimensions, like if you want to do social media. So it's different for an Instagram story, an Instagram post, but you can easily Google that. And another thing to remember is often these are measured in pixels on design programs. And you can convert those just using a Google converter. And if you don't take away anything else, simple is better than complex. You want to be concise, clean, easy to read. We don't have long attention spans. So here are a few examples. This one is pretty text heavy up here, but with this, it has a graphic, a cool fact, graphic, a fact, graphic, a fact. So it's split up. I really loved this one because they were able to use some different colors, and I liked how your eye, it has arrows for your eye to follow. So naturally, you're going to start top left. That's just how most people's eyes go. And they have an arrow to guide you. And it's also very clean, simple. Even with the extra text, the smaller text, they have larger text that you can read immediately. And this is one I made on Canva, just super quick, just to see what the program had to offer. So trying to use the rule of threes, very simple. That's it. So, am I still on screen share?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so getting on Canva.
The rule of 3 that you just mentioned?
Yes.
Brian, it sounded like you started something and then we lost you.
I was wondering if you could talk just a second on the rule of 3s that you just mentioned.
What specifically?
Well, what is the rule of 3s? As far as, I mean, I see the slide there, but as far as visually goes, was it intentional that it looked like blocks of 3 on your infographic?
Really 3 is just a good number of what people can process. If you go beyond 3 to 5, it looks very busy. There's not really a design rule to this. It's just to prevent anyone from going too much information, because if you have 7 like pieces of information, 7 pictures, it's a lot.
That's also, I mean, the rule of 3 is also true for individual photos. Photographers tell us that don't center your subject. Put them on either 1/3 or 2/3 across to give the photo more action, more appeal.
I've also heard it in the form of just biology, kind of 3s and 5s, when you look at flower petals and things.
Really?
Starfish,
I guess it's just a very natural number.
Yeah, but then insects have 6, so things get confusing when you cross groups. Not as visually appealing, I guess, too.
Do we have any more questions before we hop onto Canva?
Do you need to use like complete sentences, or can you just use like short phrases too?
I think short phrases are fine. I mean, as long as they're correct and they carry a message across. I mean, grammar and that kind of thing isn't as important. Simplicity is number 1. So for anyone who hasn't created their Canva account yet, pretty simple. You can link it to Facebook, Gmail, and it'll take you to this page. And they have a wide variety of different kind of templates, but we're going to look at infographics. And you can search it in this search bar. So you can start from a blank one if you're comfortable with that. Or you can get a template design that you can pull inspiration from and just plug and chug. I don't know how many projects it allows you to have active at one time. I think I have 5 now. It's a lot. So we'll scroll through looking at these. But my favorite so far, I just really like this one. I love the color green. I think it's great, especially if you're talking about anything that has to do with nature, because that's usually the color association with nature. So we'll click on that. And it takes you to this editing page. So I'm not going to go through everything, just kind of basic how to use the interface. To delete, you can simply click and then hit delete on your keyboard. You can also resize like you would in other programs. If you see this arrow, drag it out, make it smaller. You can also flip it whenever you see the bent arrow. Change the color by going up to the white toolbox. Make it blue, doesn't look as good, but you can do that. And then over here, you can choose through other templates if you decide you don't like this infographic template. You can go to photos. One thing to note is if it has a crown, that is the premium version. And so it'll insert a watermark whenever you download it, which isn't a big deal unless you are going to use it within your community. Then it would be beneficial to have a pro account just so there's not a watermark on your infographic whenever it's used publicly.
Yeah, so Paula, your question, you can insert your own photos. So her question was, can you insert your own photos? Absolutely, you can put your own photos in.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that Micah and I were talking about is, the USDA logos, we can put those into a Google Drive, our Megabytes logos that we have. So that way we kind of have some branding on things that you guys want. And then you can also put your school logos in.
Yeah. So if you go to the dark toolbar on the left, you'll see uploads, and you can do whatever you need from there. And then also on this, you have elements where you can search. So we can put in mosquito, and it comes up with a bunch of mosquitoes. Also, when finding text, here you have heading, subheading, and body text. And here are some nice combinations that they already have for you. And then to publish, and click here. You can share a link, email, download. And then one thing I think that's great that I recently learned about this is you can share with others on Canva. So that way, if you are doing a group project with your students, they can all work on the same one.
Micah, how do we save the file and export it? So if we were to want to get it
So
printed,
it should save as you go.
okay. And then I'm guessing it's just that download feature in the corner, that top
Mhm.
right.
But if you're worried about it, you can go to File and Save, and then either the download arrow where it goes, and you can choose what you want. PDFs are great. Also like PNGs, just because they don't lose quality if you make them bigger. And of course, your standard JPEG.
But I think from there, if you guys were to save it and email it to us or upload it to the Google Drive, we can push it forward to health departments and other things too. And the same with the slideshows. One thing I would recommend is giving credits to the students. So like at the bottom corner or somewhere, you can say, created by, the student's name at the school would be really kind of nice.
Any other questions?
So I want to try to download. I just have that life cycle of a butterfly pulled up too, and then it has a box that says pay and download. So do you click on download a free Watermark draft? Is that what you do?
For now, yeah.
There's actually a free account for educators. I'll put the link up real quick for that.
Oh, cool.
Just a second. I'll copy.
Nice. I think what they mean by the watermark draft is if you see here, this little guy, the caterpillar, has a Canva mark. But I think if you don't use any pro icons, then there's no watermark and there's no worry.
And how do you know which ones are for the pro account and which are free?
So if you go to Elements, anything with a crown on it is for pro, and unfortunately most of the mosquitoes are pro, but
Okay.
But we do have one that we can upload, that logo that Mike has purchased for us already.
Okay.
if it doesn't have anything on it, it's free.
Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I add something that I think is kind of important?
Mhm.
One of our doctoral students did a research presentation on dangerous images, problematic images, at a recent symposium. And what he's talking about there is images that maybe have a picture of a school bus, and you can see the town's name on it, and the kid, or the kid's name, or the kid with a T-shirt from your school. They suggest that you be really, really careful about posting those kinds of identifiable photos. I mean, obviously, if the name's not on, the school name's not on there, the school bus name isn't on, it's not a huge issue, but apparently there's some of those awful people out there who use that sort of imagery for their purposes.
That's a really good point that I forgot. So, oh gosh, yeah. Once again, that's also why I like to use Elements. I worked with a kids club for a little bit, and it was so much of a risk if we didn't post like a picture that was just the back of their head.
Mm-hmm.
That's something to be very aware of. You have any other questions, comments?
Micah, will you talk about thinking about sizing for the format that we're going to print in? Just in terms of, I don't know, is it a print document versus a posted document and that kind of thing?
Okay, so it really depends. Like if you do a poster, one good size is legal size. So, okay, so if you want to resize, you have to go to Pro. But infographics can be a bunch of different sizes. That's another thing just to look up on Google. I think I usually like 5x7 a lot. It's easy it's easy for people to fold up if they want to take it with them. And then for social media, that's various sizes. Oh, thanks you for posting those.
So where does it tell you what size this product is? Like, I don't see any place on here that tells me what this size already is.
Let's see. So honestly, on this template, I don't know. If you resize, you can get into specifics. But, oh, let's see. Go home. You go to, you can create design and do custom dimensions. I don't know
It
what they're
looks like,
called.
sorry, it looks like the resizing is if you go for the pro account.
Mhm.
So I guess my question is, what is the stock size of the template that you're currently using?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay, so if we went to print it out, it would
Oh,
just
wait. Okay. I'm sorry. I see it now. It's 800 by 2000 pixels. So,
where did you find that? And how do you convert that to dimensions?
I'm on my phone. We'll do a quick pixel to inch converter. And so you're on the home page right now, and you'll see different templates. So infographic, poster, logo, and whenever you roll over them with your mouse, it pops up the dimensions right under it. Do you see?
I
No.
do. So maybe if you look at Micah's screen, Micah, if
Yeah.
you roll a, kind of move your screen down a little bit so we can see the infographic part there. And if you watch when she rolls over it, how it shows up on the bottom right there,
Yes, I see it.
those are the inches. Those are the dimensions for printing.
Ah, good to know.
Yeah.
So the poster is already
Can
in.
you roll over infographic for a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so that one is in pixels. So how do we convert 800 by 2000 into inches?
So right now I'm on my phone, and you can just Google pixel to inch, and a calculator should pop up. And you can just put in the dimensions. So with the default settings of screens, which we'll just assume, this says this is 10, it's 10 by 26.
Thank you. That was helpful.
It's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm thinking like that's way bigger than a normal.
I don't think it's that big.
yeah, honestly, I'm skeptical.
2 feet long.
It's huge. It's a big
Hmm.
The
infographic.
paper's 11.5 inches. If that's
Yeah.
26, that's over twice as long as a piece of paper.
That is a big infographic.
Yeah,
From printing the infographics in before, like in the past with students,
mhm.
it will print it on just a standard sheet of paper. It just makes it like down the middle of the page. So like
Okay.
if you just send to a regular printer, it I guess does its own adjustments and it'll print out on a regular sheet of paper.
Okay, awesome.
But I think it could be like if you sent it to a ledger paper, it
Mhm.
might resize that. But it can I think it's like equipped to be printed at like a larger, like up to 2 feet long.
Okay, that makes
And it
sense.
wouldn't be blurry and ugly and funky. But you can also print them a lot smaller too.
Okay, great.
And you know, the other thing's just kind of playing around on Canva, but you know, there's Instagram posts, so you could have your students develop something for social media this way too. For the gram.
Flyer, business cards.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great options. Did I see someone in the chat?
It's just me.
Okay. Yeah. One thing to think of if you're going to do social media, it's a little bit different design rules. A lot of times for social media, like for Instagram, we have even less of an attention span. So a lot of times you just want to do one good photo, like blow it up entirely, and one really attention-getting fact. So a good example of this is the Nourish Knoxville Instagram page. I know they used to use Canva. I don't know if they still do, but you'll see kind of the same theme where it's one really good photo and they might have text over it of just announcing one thing. And those are the people, that's the people who run the Market Square Farmers Market in Knoxville. So check out their page. They have really simple, easy graphics that I think they look good but can be duplicated.
And they have a slideshow. I just Googled it, and so they have a nice slideshow kind of going with it too. So it kind of goes
cool.
together. Yeah.
Perfect.
And yummy looking turnips. Yeah.
I like them. They're very nice.
Yeah. So if you guys, we have about 20 minutes before we're supposed to start our lunch and learn. I propose maybe we kind of get lunch ready. Does that sound okay? Take a small break, stand up, walk around. Unless you guys have questions, of course. I don't want to cut off the conversation part. But the idea is, we'll be sitting there eating just like we would be, in the classroom. And then Sharon will talk with us. And then afterwards, we'll have time to kind of break out and talk more about this, in your breakout groups. And then I want to end it with talking about why we chose today, April 25th, as being our Science Communication Day. Okay?
Oh, we had a question asking about
yeah.
the dimensions again. So if you start off with a template, like if you start off with this butterfly template, you will have to go to Pro to resize, but correct me if I'm wrong, with the educator's account, is that already Pro? Does anyone know?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't know. But if you start off with the template, yes, you have to go to Pro to resize. However, if you have a blank template, you can go to Custom Dimensions for free, and they have inches, millimeter, centimeter. So if you have a confident student who already has like really good design ideas or a very specific design dimensions, this is a good route. Okay, the education account you can resize. That's awesome.
Yeah. Awesome. You guys know a lot. This is great.